Hey, everybody. Welcome back to In Depth. I know that we have been off for a while, and we announced that Season 1 was over, and we'll be starting up again with Season 2. Ha-ha! We lied. Season 2 is going to be in January. We weren't quite ready to get it going as of yet. So these are bridge episodes because we were gone for like a month. I think it's closer to 5 weeks, 6 weeks at this point.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't want to be gone for that long. We don't want people to think the show is dead or anything like that. So we're going to be doing a handful of episodes that bridge Season 1 into Season 2, so it's not just completely dead downtime.
Right. So, yeah, so this isn't quite Season 1 or Season 2. Season 1.5, I would guess?
Yeah, something like that.
Ideally, we wanted to do Season 2 with some offline guests and some other stuff, so we're not really there for that yet.
Yeah.
Players still kind of chilling. It's the off-season. They'll be back soon, though.
Yeah. So it is kind of like the slow StarCraft time right now. But that's okay, because we have some cool stuff for today's episode. You sent me a message, was it yesterday or the day before?
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Yeah, a couple days ago you sent me a message about how you have a new build order. You sent me some replays or something, and you were like, listen, I think that this is good cheese and good macro. And
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, my eyebrows are already up. I was like this. I was like, okay, because how can that possibly be?
Right.
But you know what? You have a high win rate with this build order, right?
Yeah, right now it's
tell me, because I didn't check, because as soon as you were telling me that it's good macro and cheese, and you feel it's good, because you know how to judge build orders pretty well. So I was like,
Right.
You know what? Let's do this on the show. I will wait. And so I'm going in completely blind right now, other than it is a strong Zerg build order. Tell me about it. Let's hear it.
So I'm going to preface this with it's possible that this build order exists. I'm not going to claim
We're not going to call it the No Regret build.
Yeah, it's not the Jake build. It's whatever.
Actually, if anyone does in GSL, it's going to be the Jake build.
That's true. After this point, if you do it, it's my build. But before this point, it's anybody's build. Yeah. It's not that special. It's more about just thinking what I can do with what I'm doing. I don't know how to explain that. Like, I started out with just going 13 spawning pool.
Okay.
It's a little bit later than a 12 pool, but it still hits early enough that if they go gate Nexus, they're going to be punished. If they go gate Cyber, it doesn't really matter. That's the standard for dealing with 12 pool, right?
So this is specifically a ZvP build.
Yes. So the idea is if you go 12 pool, people have to respond with gate Cyber, or usually gate Cyber, gate, or some form of gate and then Cyber immediately.
Absolutely.
Difference between 12 and 13 isn't going to change that. They're still going to have a Zealot either way. But I show them a hatchery at 14. So now
wait, are you going 14 hatch, 13 pool?
14 Overlord, 14 hatch.
Okay. 14 Overlord, 14 hatch,
13 pool, 14 Overlord, 14 hatch.
Oh, okay.
And then you build 6 slings as soon.
And how does that timing exactly line up with the Probe Scout after Gateway?
Well, let's get into that.
Oh, okay. Let's get into that
not?
then. You have the answers for me. I'm excited.
Got some replays here. This one's 4 minutes long. I don't remember exactly all of them and how they line up.
It's good macro build.
Well, I think I haven't done the macro variation yet. So
let's do the Control N and D.
They're just barcodes.
Oh, yeah, you're playing. I know that guy.
Yeah, that guy's
I
famous.
played against him the other day.
Everyone's played against him.
He wasn't very good, though.
Yeah, it was probably the same guy.
What was the approximate MMR of this game, if you recall?
He was 5.7. It says the MMR now.
Oh, okay.
I don't get the extractor trick with this anymore because it's too much money.
Okay.
This is the very first time I tried it, so.
So how did you come up with this build while we're kind of watching it?
So originally just the idea of 13 pool sounded good to me. I don't think that's unique in any way. Like I said, it hits a timing between going double gate Cyber or going gate Nexus. So it feels really strong either way, right? If they overcommit and you're going hatchery like this, it feels pretty strong. Your hatchery's already planted.
Sure.
If they undercommit, you can actually just kill them because it's still 13 pool. It's still pretty quick.
Okay. Yeah, and I see that the Lings are slightly stifled out to fit in the hatchery and the Overlord. That's
it does feel a little weird because it's not just 6 slings immediately when your pool finishes, but
yeah, and even the Probe Scout here, right? They get in after the hatchery, only see 2 Lings and then 4 Lings. Right. So it's actually a little bit hard to even scout it correctly.
Exactly. They see the hatch every time, so it's kind of hard to understand what you're supposed to do here. Because if you overreact, like I said, I can build drones at any point, or if you underreact, I can just kill you. So it's kind of up
so
to
are you
them.
going 8 Lings or 10 Lings?
Normally you go 10, and then I want to see what their wall is like, and then decide. But I've
So did you go 8 or 10 here? I didn't.
I just
didn't
been only
notice.
pumping lings, no drones, right?
Okay, so you're on 10.
Yeah.
12. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, only lings.
You're serious mode.
So gate cyber. This is pretty.
But
standard.
wait, normally you only want to go 8 or 10. Can you
If you want
elaborate
macro,
just a little
yes.
bit?
Well, 8. Yeah, this is normal. I've got 10 lings, right?
No, you made more than 10.
Like
go to
these
unit
should
tab.
be. This should be a drone if you want to start macroing. I think this amount of lings. Is
But I
pretty
believe you already have
comfortable.
12 out, right? So, yeah.
Like 12. Yeah, 12 is probably reasonable.
Okay. Okay. I'm just wondering some of the minutia.
Like if you build enough lings, like they usually have to react to it in a certain way anyway. So it's not like all these lings are thrown in the trash can.
Mhm.
If they had 2 gates and a cyber core here, I'd be a little bit sad because these lings aren't going to do much. But I can show you how to utilize the lings you overbuild.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of
Sure,
the world,
sure.
especially if you want to be aggressive. If you want to macro, probably stopping at 10 is more than enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like 10 would do the same as 12 in this situation.
Yeah.
Especially because they're incrementing out, right? These 2 lings that just came up, what are they going to... Well, I guess in this case, they're going to do something.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's just dead.
Just as I say that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he kind of holds in quotes. Or, like, actually, I wouldn't call this a hold.
Yeah,
He's not
no.
dead, but he's in a pretty bad spot. He actually defended pretty well there. But even, like, unpowering feels really solid for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a scout off on the robo, which is not a Stargate, which is puzzling to me, but a lot of people do that.
Okay, so you have speed, more lings coming.
Yeah, this is all in mode.
Mm-hmm.
As
Just
soon as
because
I
you
kill the
broke
pylon,
through,
I
right?
feel like I can just do it.
Yeah.
Because their warp gate is delayed to such an extent that I can always overpower 1 gateway production.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I would not recommend doing this if it's a 2-gate defense, because 2-gate you can actually pump out a decent amount of adepts off of 2 gateways, even without warp gate. So he's doing exactly what you should be doing, which is just walling forever. There's literally nothing else he can do. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Let's take a look at the actual worker count here. 21 to 14, so you've only really squeezed in 1 more drone during this.
Yeah. Don't need it. Don't need any more drones. He's
No.
actually just going to lose here. If he went Stargate, he might have a better defense as well, but you can only, do so much here with this build, playing against it. So now he's just
Okay,
dead.
so that's a pretty straightforward victory.
Yeah,
You have some more replays for us here?
I do. I have 6 apparently.
6? All right, that's good. That's a good amount.
Let's go to thinking 3.
What about original thinking? Is no
Original
good?
one's just a meme, so
Oh, yeah?
it's the beginnings of a build order. So this guy's pretty high MMR, 6'4".
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
6'4" is very high. It's like top 25 GM maybe.
Okay. Now, is the build changed to this game at all?
13 pool, exact
Are
same build.
you
The only thing is I
doing
don't do the
12?
extractor trick.
Okay. Are you doing 12 lings again on this one?
Yes.
Do you know? Okay.
I believe he defends it too, and then I kill him later on.
Okay.
At 754. So he clearly defends it. You pass him a beer.
Of course, my friend.
Thanks, buddy. What are friends for?
For looking at these weird-ass build orders and trying to figure out
Okay,
if
so
they're
what are your
good.
thoughts on it so far? Because you haven't
Okay,
seen
I
defense
like-
yet. Because
okay.
there's been people that have defended this.
The first game feels like a throwaway. The
By him.
MMR was reasonably low for your level
Mm-hmm.
to play against.
I agree.
And also, it felt like just hyper aggression, right? Because you never
Yep.
went above 14 drones, and he kind of scouted and
Mm-hmm.
went for the Nexus anyways. Decided that it was fine because
Well, that's
he saw
the point,
hatch,
right? Because you see the hatch, right? You
Yeah.
can't overcommit to a defense. You will lose.
Yeah,
But you
so-
can't undercommit either, or you'll lose. So
Yeah, so he's actually this guy has skipped his Nexus.
Gonzalez Gate, yeah, and he defends it.
Yeah,
And this
well,
is
that
this
that
is
seems
like the
what you.
perfect defense in my opinion.
Mhm.
It's not an overreaction. He's definitely respecting the pressure. He's getting his Nexus, so he can still counter in transition here. But as you can see, even this is a bit of an underreaction in my opinion.
From him.
Yeah. Like I could have probably just killed
It's
this
a very
gateway here.
confident reaction.
Yeah, this
there's
is
no
very
doubt. Like
confident.
his micro is really, really strong here. Can we go back and look at the micro just a little bit? I mean, it's fine. But like you can tell that this guy's a lot better than the last one. You can tell by the adept movements, the shades where he's putting the adept as it shades.
Yeah.
Like
I
this
agree.
is, you can tell that this is a much stronger player. So I feel like we're going to learn a lot more from this game. Look at that, the adept even lives.
This
It's
guy
super
definitely
sick.
throws away, I feel. I'm already starting to build drones, as you can see.
Okay, so hold on.
Um,
Let's pause it just for a second. I want to take a look. So we're still in the 13 here. You still have 10 lings. So you did make quite a few lings once again.
Yeah. That's normal. It's
Yeah.
Jake.
Of course.
You're probably going to be hard-pressed to find me actually macro with it, but I do think there's a lot of potential with it to be macroable.
Mhm.
I think the strength of build orders is a lot of flexibility in them.
Yeah, yeah.
And this build feels very flexible to me because I get a pretty decent link speed. I have a lot of lings on the map, and they can't really do much. So you'll see this game, I'm leaving my links here, which is really like the only thing it can do. I could probably try and break this, but it's not going to work, I don't think.
You were talking in the first game about you'd show what to do with overmade lings, because it feels like right now these are overmade.
These are overmade links, yeah.
So what are we doing with those?
So we injured the gateway to pretty heavy extent before. If these adepts shade across the map, which most lower level players would do right now, like they'd be shading these out because they killed the lings, they saw a 13 pool or 12 pool, I would kill this gateway, or I would just win the game.
Sure.
So if this was a wall, if this was a zealot, I'd kill the gateway, and it would be really annoying. This is enough links to actually just win the game with.
Okay, so actually putting that damage on the gateway, sometimes when you damage a building but don't kill it, a lot of times that feels like a huge waste.
Yes, it
but
does.
Here it's kind of like it's in your back pocket as a way to kill someone that's overconfident.
Right, this guy doubles down on the defense even more, which is, again, respectable. I think a lot lesser players wouldn't give that much respect to it.
Okay, so that what we just saw there with the shield battery coming up, do you think that this is just a reaction to the amount of drones at your natural?
Yes.
It seems like, because when you're 6'7", you can look at things like the drone counts of certain bases. You know he doesn't have 21 drones in his main, so it's like, okay, yeah, this is not enough. There have to be lings on the map. So again, showing this is a much more useful game because the guy is actually quite good.
Yeah, he's actually reacting to things he's scouting, which is nice.
Yeah.
So I throw out an extra gas, and I kind of show the fact that I want to expand in macro out of this because I don't want him to just sit there forever. And I do know he was going robo before, so you can see I'm getting away with a lot of greed here, like pretty much only drones, no spore crawlers. I cancel the extractor because I don't need it.
Yeah, I find this interesting. Hold on, let's slow it down just for a second here. Okay, so we're at 33 drones only, but I enjoy this macro hatch of your natural. Can you talk about that just for a second?
So
and the complete lack of layer.
Well, the idea with my economy, I can't go layer without simply risking just losing to any push, right? I'm trying to skip out as many drones as possible, or try to like skip them in rather, and produce structures that will benefit me.
Yeah. I really like your economic balancing here and how you're skimping on gas as hard as you possibly can
to increase my mineral income.
Yeah. It seems like a really nice move considering what this game has looked like so far.
So if you look at the income, like it's 40 drones, 33 drones to 40 probes, but I bet the mineral income is similar. It's probably, it's not that much different. That's the point. I'm trying to skimp out on things I don't necessarily need to try and even out this, because I'm going really heavy mineral units in the future.
Now, what have you scouted? You actually don't know his tech. Oh, wait, you've seen the Immortal.
I saw the Robo, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Immortal is at
otherwise, I would have to build spores.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seems a little bit odd, but yeah.
Yeah, I skimped out on spores because I knew I could.
Yeah, very
So
good.
as soon as I see the move out, I use the lings, right? And I see this Immortal, so I grab it because it's...
Very nice kill.
Yeah, he wasn't expecting these lings to be here.
All right, let's slow it just slightly. Like down to, 2x is good, probably.
I'm only producing lings at this point, obviously.
Yeah. So any trades you're getting here are pretty reasonable.
Yes. Look at that. That's nice even. So I build banelings. This is just in case he masses zealots with this build. Like, he can't really have enough to deal with a 4-hatch Zerg as long as I'm not just dying to the first push. Like, as this game goes on, I'm going to get further and further ahead, ideally. He does have way more probes than I do, have SCVs, or drones. But this is really good. Grabbing this is a very good fight for me.
Yeah.
If he warps in, the banelings are going to kill it, and if he doesn't warp in, he loses everything. So this is like a huge turning point in the game.
Okay, can you pause it for 1 second? Let's take a look. Okay, so you're at 34 against 44 workers. He made the pylon at the third, but he didn't make the nexus, right? Did you check that, or?
I had lings killing this pylon earlier.
Yeah. Now he's building it. And when you were killing it, did you get the probe, or was the probe like hiding? Do you recall?
He never threw down that nexus, actually. He built the pylon to make me think he was going to take it.
Yeah, for the move out.
Right.
But so the probe probably went back?
I mean, I just didn't. I went to kill the pylon, and then I saw the Immortal, so I stopped killing them. I went for the Immortal.
Yeah. Okay.
So at this point, I'm not going to let him like build up an army. I'm just going to keep putting on pressure here because I have all these units.
Well, that's very interesting to me. Hold on. Let's turn to the production tab here. Oh, okay, because I was going to say, I feel like, and the thing is, obviously, I'm a very different style player than you, but it feels to me like as soon as you stop that push, I feel like you should be going 4-hatch drones.
Yeah, I do. I do start building drones.
Like you should be until 66. I feel like you should not stop.
Is that I want to try? Yeah, it's true. I should be building drones a little bit more aggressively. These 6 lings probably not necessary. Could have been 6 more drones, but I'm just doing a mix of both right now.
Okay.
Because I want to stop him from ever taking this.
Okay. Yeah.
and I can reasonably do it. It's really hard for him to actually take his third if he doesn't have Archons with this much army. Like this Ling Bane can be so annoying.
Sure. Especially considering that engagement you already took.
Yeah. So like at this point, it's gonna start spiraling. I grab an Immortal here.
Oh
this
man,
basically
he's
ends
so
the game
dead
because he's way out of position.
Yeah, that's it right there. GG.
He doesn't just die here, but
he does just die here. Just doesn't leave the game.
Exactly.
He's a zombie at this point.
So now I've been adding on drones, but it's kind of pointless again. Like now I can actually just go for it.
Yeah.
So I'm pumping only Lings.
It's fun to watch how your style interprets what to do in this situation.
Yeah. Like a lot. I think there's 2 ways to do it. You could just be building drones here, but I'm not going to die to something like this. That's my point, right?
Oh yeah. Sure.
And if he goes for the macro, he should die as well. This is like I don't know, my interpretation of what you should be doing.
No, I like it. I like it. It certainly works out in this game, and each StarCraft game is different. So.
Yeah. So we're just gonna roll them over.
Except Heart of the Swarm TVZs. Those were all the same. But other than that.
So we got him.
Okay. That was a much more interesting game for that build. Let's see another rep.
Okay. What do we got?
Thinking 4.
I think this guy was just bad.
I like how you name your reps. I always name my reps in like all caps and like with cuss words. So it's very
this
different.
guy was just not that good. He went like Void Rays off
He
of
was
double Stargate.
5'6"? Was he 5'6" there? Okay.
So again, this guy's pretty below my MMR, but it's okay.
Yeah,
honestly, I don't think it takes that much to defend
so
this.
was this a 9 scout? Is that what that was?
I think this is probably
it must have been a
Pylon
Pylon scout, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's my Brood War brain. That's what I mean.
Well, there's a difference. You can go Gate Scout or Pylon Scout. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same thing. I'm adding on some drone. I'm still kind of in a question of if I should drone at some point. And if I think always the answer is yes to droning in this position. But if this guy is much lower than me, I might just go for the kill because that's how I play.
Yeah, you're trying to judge each game as a beautiful snowflake in a lot of ways.
Right. Also, when testing a new build order, it's kind of okay to put myself in a position where I'd find being a negative thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that
So
100%.
This is still the fifth replay of me trying this, and it's kind of nice to put myself in a position where I can lose to a player like that's really well defended.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
No, I think that's really important. If you don't test the extremes of what you can bust, then you're not actually. You shouldn't be playing for MMR. I think this is a good thing to mention, as this is in depth, right?
Yeah.
Like I could not agree more. I was actually practicing some aggressive builds for TVT the other day, and I was just like letting myself die in certain situations and losing some MMR for it because I'm like, well, I have to see if I can bust this, right?
Exactly.
I have to go all in with this and just see what exactly is this capable of. And I think that's a very important thing that you're trying to hear because, in my opinion, this is exactly your defense. Yeah, this is exactly what you should be doing here because the 2 Adepts give you so much potential against this type of crap too, you know?
Especially on the counter. This is another thing with double gate, though. A lot of Protosses feel they have to utilize the Adepts after they come out. Like, that last guy was really defensive for a really long time. But a guy who goes double gate like this might feel shading the 2 Adepts and waiting for the next 2 is fine, and then I'll come in and snipe a gateway or something, right? So this gateway dies, which is a pretty nice pull, but he gets all my links. I would say this is a good position for him to be in right now.
But you hide the other lings, right?
Yep.
So you're kind of waiting to see if he sends that shade out.
Exactly.
So he shades, right? He did shade?
He's definitely coming across the map.
Okay, let's maybe slow it just a little bit. Wow.
So I'm making the best of a bad position here. And even like that was really close. If he didn't move his Adept there, it probably would have been annoying. But this is still really good for me. And the Adepts come home, right? Like they're not harassing me.
Yeah. Forcing them home is, it's good at least.
Yeah. So I'm
And
building
it was even
drones
a
now.
recall.
I'm mixing them in again, kind of like the last times. He's building batteries. So like at this point, I have to know that I'm not going to break him. But I'm still going to be annoying. I'm not going to let him just chill.
It's kind of an interesting build because you're at such a drone deficit for such a long period.
Yeah.
Normally you don't see it for that long
true.
with any normal build.
I think that's the only big disadvantage this build brings. If it was somehow easier, I think I should try and sneak in drones a little bit earlier and then continue with the all-in. But
I think that part of the reason why I'm a little bit intrigued by your build, here, if you could pause for a second, part of the reason why I'm a little bit intrigued by the build is exactly because you are sitting on a drone deficit for a long time, and you're utilizing this other pressure, right? Where you're doing things like knocking down production facilities. You're forcing him to stay back so that even like in these early positions, this is where Protoss wants to be, harassing a bit, keeping the drone count down. The thing is, you've kept your own drone count down. So in a way, by defending, he's pressuring you because you're making a lot of lings. But the fact that we're seeing the build and you be somewhat comfortable with that by producing the additional units and keep the pressure on. It's a very technical and complicated way to play that I think is not even understood fully.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's I think if the other player was more comfortable playing from this position, it would be way easier to play. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding from the other player on how to react to this, right? Like realistically, when you're up, a certain amount of workers, you should always be able to maintain a huge lead. Like it shouldn't be that hard, but there's so many question marks. Is he going to banling bust me? Is he going Nidus? Is he doing some weird stuff like that? That a lot of players will skip out on their own eco trying to defend things they don't even know are coming, or throwing people off their build orders happens a lot. Like I'll play against someone and I'll do the 13 pull and they'll be cannon rushing me or whatever, and they just die. So there's a lot of like technical positions where I just win because people don't know how to deal with it and be ahead, even though they are ahead.
Yeah, it's
like that last guy. The last guy, 6'4". He's really good, like top 25 GM on Korea, and he didn't really understand how to push his lead. He thought I'll go for the kill, right? That's the best way to push my lead. But realistically, was it? No, not really, because I was skimping on tech to defend and be aggressive at the same time.
He didn't really know what you were doing.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, I don't really know what you're doing here because this game, you're playing it very differently. You're going to layer.
Yeah, the reason why
that a little bit?
I do that is because it's a Stargate. There are some.
What's the thought? Are you going Nidus or something?
No, I hate Nidus.
You're going straight into Hydra?
Yep.
Of course you are.
So, yeah, going something similar to last game with heavy Ling Bane it's okay against Stargate, but realistically, I'm never gonna have anything that shoots down or shoots up to kill the Sky Army, and I'm kind of scared of double Stargates, which this game happens to be, but I don't know that. I'm scared of like Phoenixes. I'm scared of Void Rays or whatever carriers, that annoying stuff. Especially if they delay their third base. Like, I don't know why you'd possibly be delaying this if you don't have your it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like Stargate lets you take this safely.
Yes.
So why are you delaying this?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So this scares me. A lot of players do this, and especially now people are playing around with the Void Ray stuff, which feels really weird. So I see that Void Ray in production. I try to take my third as quick as possible without hindering my economy still. I'm trying to balance the mineral income with my tech and my
What's
expansions.
your drone count right now?
33. Still pretty low, to be honest.
Yeah, of course.
But if I take this third any sooner, then that's drones that aren't being produced. So I think that everything I'm doing so far is as efficient as I can get.
Yeah, I like the Hydra to a certain extent. It's very you. So stylistically, I totally understand.
Yeah, all these replays are going to be stylistically like me.
Yeah, well, of course.
And I can explain why my style is this way, but that's kind of complicated. Like, why do I prefer Hydras over Roaches and that kind of stuff?
Well, I think it's good in this type of situation. I think in this current meta, it's reasonable as well because no one really does it right now.
Right.
Everyone can hold off Infinity Roaches with anything.
Exactly.
But if you just suddenly have Hydra Ling, a lot of people are just going to die. It's kind of like that. You remember when this came up suddenly, where like Hydra Ling attacks were the thing?
Yeah.
I had no idea how to stop it back then, and I feel like it's reverted to that position again.
Yeah, Roaches I really don't like the lack of utility with Roach Warren. Like, Roach Warren itself is so useless. It kind of just keeps you alive until you go into further tech.
Yeah.
And if Protoss has skimp on their defense against the Roaches and kind of just counter the tech you're going next, it feels really bad. Like, for example, if I go Roach Warren, do like Roach Ling pressure or something and go Spire, and then they just have like Phoenixes. It's just like, it's really sad. Like, you get bopped so hard.
Hydras scale a lot better than they do in a lot of ways.
Yeah, especially for the aggression. Like, I really like the aggression with Hydras a lot more than with Roaches.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, any Protoss worth his salt is not going to die to Roaches. It's just not going to happen.
So, at this point, I'm scratching my head because I know he has an army. It's not like it just doesn't exist. And then I see it. And I'm like, Okay. Like, I don't really know how to react to this because I was not expecting just 7 Void Rays. It's not a very common response here. So I just try to kill as many probes as possible, and this is probably the best call for me. And I even do like some multi-prong stuff, so trying to kill as many probes as possible. And I'm just building up Hydras, because Hydras do scale quite well against Void Rays. I mean, to a certain extent. Like, 6 Void Rays is not going to kill 15, 16 Hydras, so as long as I get out a decent Hydra count and wait for him to attack me, 0% chance this doesn't go across the map. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's not sitting here defensively with this many Void Rays.
of
Though
course.
he should, but he won't. So I'm just kind of waiting for him to come to me and building up my Hydra count. I would never be aggressive in this position because Hydras are just going to be way worse aggressively until I have a certain number.
I think theoretically he should just be going into carrier from here.
Yeah, he should.
Like,
So
what does he think's going to happen there?
Yeah,
I think you fly up behind the natural and then recall if you need to.
Yeah.
The correct way to play is Protoss here, but
I think it's totally playable from him right now.
I think losing those 2 voids was no good.
Obviously.
But,
Yeah, it's a pretty bad move.
Yeah. Because look at this now, right?
Yeah, it's actually kind of close fight, but
If he has 2 more voids, he probably wins that.
he definitely wins that because he
Yeah,
almost
so-
wins it still.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 Hydras survive. But the point is, if I'm trading out Hydras like that for Void Rays, I'm in a
absolutely.
great spot because the next wave will kill him if this wave doesn't. Also, my Lings scale really well now because there's not enough Void Rays to just kill them like they were before.
Yeah.
Now he's just kind of dead. To be fair, I was really far behind this game, I think, if he didn't play like this.
Well, yeah. It seems like a better player in this position might have been able to do something.
I agree. That's what I was saying. I have lost with this build, by the way. It's not
Let's go to
completely
thinking 5.
gone.
Do we have a thinking 5?
We have thinking 6.
No thinking 5 though. You skipped right up.
Oh, I've been doing it every single ZvP, so maybe I lost, but we can watch it. Oh, let's watch this one. I don't know what it's like.
453.
Sure.
You probably win it.
Probably, yeah.
If
I don't
it's
know why it's not.
453, I'm trying to imagine how you die at 453 with that many lanes.
Yeah.
I guess it
I
could
would
occur.
not. I wouldn't. I would stay on it. Stay in it. Yeah, it's 13 pull again. So we can think about basically what I wanted to talk about with this episode is trying to decide whether this build is good or bad because you know what I mean? Like there's no real tell if it's good or bad yet.
Yeah, it is definitely
it's extremely
hard to see.
subjective, right?
Yeah.
And so far I've had a high win rate with it, but does that make it a good build? Not necessarily.
No,
Right.
not necessarily. That's for sure.
So the
and
idea
the thing is, we have to define what we want to call a good build as well.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So my point of this episode was to go through my thought process on why I think a build is good or why I think a build is bad, and if that's correct or incorrect, because it's totally possible I'm wrong here. There's no truly right way to think like this, in my opinion.
Oh, let's see this game and then talk about that a little bit, then watch a couple more of them.
Sure. So this game I didn't label. I'm not sure why, because so far I'm doing everything I want, and I'm going for the aggression.
Yeah, and you're on 13 drones right now?
Right. If I lose, I don't think I'll lose this game. I'll be impressed if I do. Because so far it feels like everything I've wanted has happened.
But it feels like he's doing okay-ish
That
on
was
the
pretty bad by
defense.
Ooh, okay.
Here, minus it a little. Let's slow it down.
I don't know if you saw what I did there.
No, I did not.
I just sent 8 drones across the map, so I definitely lose this game.
Ah, okay.
I think I was trying something and it didn't.
Were you gonna
wasn't good?
What were you gonna send your drones in on a drill or something?
Yeah.
or-
No. On the mining. I was gonna mine the backside out,
Oh, yeah, of course.
but he's
okay.
got a pylon here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this kind of just gets shut
Oh,
down.
that's funny.
Yeah.
LOL.
So at this point I'm dead.
Yeah, that does
But-
not look fun.
Yeah. I just wanted to try stuff.
Sure.
Can't
Okay.
even believe I GG'd there.
Here, let's go full screen here. Talk about your ideas on build orders.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay, so-
talk to me about what you think, how to find out
I
if a
think
build order is good.
First thing comes to like just theory crafting on what makes sense, right? This build in my mind makes sense theoretically.
Mhm.
Then I test it and I have success with it. So that's kind of like a backing up of the initial thought, which
Mhm.
is 12 pool and 13 pool have the same response and there's no real difference except the fact that I can fit a hatchery out before my legs start,
Mhm.
which should give me utility to drone at any point.
Mhm.
So I haven't really tested just building drones yet. I've only testing the aggression, which feels really strong. It has a really high win rate. So my thoughts on what makes a build good are the ability to do it straight up right in front of them. Like they scout it straight up in their face, do the build and have it work. If it doesn't work and when it's scouted, it's a bad build in my opinion. At least bad to replicate, right?
Yeah.
Second thing is it should be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be, this kind of goes hand in hand with the first one, right? If a build is flexible and you scout it, it's probably a good thing, right? If I can decide to build drones at any point, if I can decide, okay, I've canceled your natural, I'm happy. Done, we're building drones. Like for example, in TVZ, I have a build, 14 gas, 14 spawning pool, which is very common, where if I hit certain like check marks, I know at this point I'm ahead. For example, if I cancel the reactor with my first 6 links and I kill the CC, make him move it, I'm already ahead. In my mind, I know how to macro from that position flawlessly. So flexibility and the ability to do it straight up right in their face, those are 2 really big things for me, especially with aggression builds specifically.
Okay.
What else makes a build good? I think if a build puts you behind every time, you're probably better off not doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
So it reasonably can't put you at a deficit every game. Even if your damage is done, if you're at a deficit, then it's probably not a very good build.
Yeah.
Like for example, I can go 12 spawning pool against a Terran player and kill a CC, whatever, but I'm still behind after everything, right? Worked. It kind of works, right? But not really, because I'm still behind.
Some of those builds, just to make this clear for people, because there are builds that can put you behind almost all the time, but they seem to kind of work. A lot of times that's because your opponent doesn't quite know how to play from there, but you're good at playing from there.
Right, and when you get
so
to
that
play
definitely
better,
exists.
like there's a lot of technicality here too. Like for example, I would argue the 14 gas, 14 spawning pool versus Terran almost always puts me behind, but there's really technical things that I could do to mess with my Terran player so hard. But if they don't react to those things, I look like an idiot. Like for example, when I played Innovation in Nation Wars, if Innovation didn't respect what I was doing, and I was messing with him a lot. Like I only showed him 4 links constantly. I showed him a natural expansion, right? So he's thinking maybe he's building drones and he sends his Hellions out. Really dumb move, in my opinion, but makes sense given what I've shown him, right? And maybe he still feels very confident even if these 2 Hellions die. But if it's a Baneling bust, he's dead, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, that's a very technical way to, I totally see what you're saying. That's like one way that you have some tricks, even for situations where you can be behind with a build. So the build is probably not really that good, but you're good at playing from it and making it work. I think a broader one to look at is most people that go mech against Protoss. It's actually most of these builds are actually bad, and you actually should be behind, but you know how to play it better than your opponent on the ladder knows how to play it. Play against it.
So how do we quantify these things into what makes a build order good?
Well, I think that okay, I look at it a little bit different because you mentioned flexibility. Flexibility, I would say, is a build that gives you some play where you have room to transition.
Or even flexibility in the sense of I scout or I play, like for example, let's say I play against Gate Nexus. It's good. If I play against Gate Cyber, it's good. If I play against Gate Cyber whatever, it's good. Or it's okay.
Okay.
Like the idea is, or let's say in this case of 14-14, if I get SCV scouted, is it still good? If I don't get SCV scouted, if the reactor's in the wall, if the reactor isn't in the wall, right? Like a broad brand of like different things. Is it if it's only good in the case where there's a reactor in the wall and he doesn't scout you, is it a good build anymore? No, not really.
That is, it's a good question. I think that also good can mean different things. Like, is it good on ladder? Is it good in tournaments? That type of thing.
Yeah. Like it's extremely subjective. That's why I said I don't think.
Yeah. The thing is, I think that there are very good all-in build orders where they don't have any flexibility, but it's still a good build. It's like you shouldn't base your career off of this, obviously. But you know, those can be good builds. So I'm not as comfortable calling flexibility as like that can be good.
I think it's on a spectrum though too.
Yeah.
Like some builds are really flexible. Some builds are like okay.
Yeah.
And there's some builds that are just not flexible at all. For example, 14 gas, 14 spawning pool versus Terran is not flexible whatsoever. Like it can be flexible, but really, if I had to grade it on a scale versus the build that I'm doing here in that we've shown you, it's not even close. Because this build, I can certainly see potential with droning, I can certainly see potential with Lings. I could possibly do Banelings. Like, there's a lot of potential with that. The fact that I have a natural expansion and spawning pool so early.
Yeah. Let me. So we talked about something kind of similar to this before on In Depth. I can't recall for the life of me what episode it was, but when we were talking about treading that line, which would have to do with flexibility and doing it in your opponent's face and things like this.
Right.
And that would be like approaching the Nash equilibrium, where it's like this is the optimal way to play, where you are maximizing economy and safety at the same time.
Right.
And the thing is, you can look at that line.
Oh yeah, I remember we talked about this. If
we,
you play on like a certain point of that spectrum against a certain person on that spectrum, like you can have a huge edge.
Yes, and that's like something that, for instance, Cyril does better than everyone else in the world. Is he is closer probably to the Nash equilibrium than anyone else, where it's like he's basically always safe and basically always just slightly ahead of you.
Yeah,
and that's the hardest thing to do in start like. Flash is the ultimate example of this, where like some of the builds he does, no one else can even do them because he nails it, where if you fuck it up at all, you're way behind, right? So the thing is, you have to take a build like this, I think, and like look, where does it compare to this? And where can you maybe get an edge against someone that's close to that line but not quite there? And then is it above the line? Is it below the line, right? Is it more aggressive? Is it more greedy? Because you're always taking a risk when you're not kind of on that middle track, but how do you cover for that risk?
Right, exactly. And you can actually see how you cover with that risk with this build, right?
Yeah.
Like that's another interesting thing about it. It doesn't feel like it's completely dead when they scout it, which is really nice. Because Protoss always scout. Like every single game here, we've seen a probe scout. What happens if they don't probe scout in these games? 100% dead. I get there with my 6 Lings, and they have a Nexus and a Gateway that's finished, but not building anything.
Yeah, because they probably even went gas first and stuff if they aren't going to scout,
gas first. So like you're super dead. Oh, like there's no way you defend this. So I'm giving you replays of them scouting and reacting. So far, I felt really comfortable with it because it feels like every single Protoss I play is out of their comfort zone. They're not exactly sure. It's not a 12 pool, which more Protosses have experience with. It's not quite a macro build, so they're kind of in between, and they don't really know how far on the scale I am, which is a big asset to the build. Obviously, at certain points they do, like when I show 20 Lings. Yeah. Then they know where I am. But after the first 8 Lings or 10 Lings, you have no idea. If I build only drones at this point, I will have like 12 drones at my natural. Yeah. So it's really interesting where this build fits, and I think I have been bopped with it. Let me see if I can find a boppening. But I think it's harder to bop me if I'm playing like the macro version. I think the aggression version is a little bit easier to shut down. I hope this isn't a boppening because he's 5'2". But, you know.
Could be, though.
Also, these builds have a really high, like they can lose to players way worse than me, and they can also win against players way better than me. Like that's just how the build fits on the spectrum. Against someone like Stats or whatever, I'm going to have a way worse chance just playing a straight up macro game. And against someone who's 5'2", I'm going to have a way higher chance of playing a normal game.
Yeah. Well, definitely that's another aspect to think of on these build orders. Like, where do you want to use this? And part of this is your aspiration as a StarCraft player. For many people watching this, they'll only ever play online games on the ladder. So maybe it's a really good build to utilize there. Whereas, for instance, like you'll probably play whatever qualifiers come up, right? So then it comes up like, is this worthwhile practicing? Are you going to use this in 1 game out of 3 in a qualifier match against someone like Stats?
Right.
And I think that's a really great way to decide the quality of a build order. Like there's build orders that you might not use much in tournaments and things that are still great build orders because you have it in your back pocket or something, right?
Right.
If you see a pattern someone does. If you know a guy likes to not scout in PvZ, what a great opener to kill him with.
Yeah, exactly. I have a couple of builds like that too. Though nobody doesn't scout versus me because that's just
that's
suicide.
why you got to play under a barcode in the qualifier.
To be fair, even throwing out like my name and everything, I still have some success.
Yeah.
Like the idea is to mess with them in the sense that I have multiple builds I'm known for. Which build is it? That kind of stuff. Yeah. So this, I can already see why it wouldn't work, but also there's a high potential that it does.
Well, the thing is, you might have a version of this that you could work on based on how well someone knows you and how well they counter your normal play, where you just drone up after 8 Lings. Yeah. Right? And then suddenly they're making 2 shield batteries and going Stargate,
Right.
and suddenly you have like infinity drones at home. That could be like a very good way to make this build go forward, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea with this build, because it feels like that's a line I can definitely walk comfortably.
Yeah.
This is quite a close game. I think I win though. So warp gate already being yeah, I think I get this. It's
What's
close.
your drone count at right now? 13?
13 probably.
Yeah.
13 is a pretty good number. I think it lets me inject and produce off of everything. But only one inject. 2 injects would be too much. They don't go Stargate, they kind of just die. And a lot of Protosses won't go pull the Stargate trigger because it stops them from producing units. Okay.
Okay.
At least I didn't lose. That's good. I didn't put this in probably because he's much slower than me. But almost actually did something with it. Yeah. It's interesting to think about because I've been thinking with the new meta, there's a lot of opportunity to kind of splice up with new builds. But it's hard to do it after a certain point in the game, I think. Like, let's say I go hatch gas pool and then take my third. At that point, it's kind of hard to diversify from the standard because we got oracles and we have sentry scouting and we have all this stuff like where it kind of allows them to see everything. And at that point, they also have a pretty good defense against most things. And I'm also risking the fact that I'm going to play into somebody else's build if I do this. Like, for example, I go hatch first, skip my overlord, take my third hatch like the Koreans or whatever, and I'm just droning. And then 30 adepts shade in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've missed my entire opportunity to do anything because he's capitalized and done a build already.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of builds like that for Protoss.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. For like that's a great way to underline why aggression can be very good in this matchup, because you're right. Like I would say actually most competitive Protosses are executing a build against Zerg.
Exactly.
There's very few that actually sit back and say, okay, let's do this. I'm going to figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Those are players like Showtime and Stats.
Right.
So yeah,
And we can argue that even those have they have weaknesses because of that.
Of course. Yeah. Well,
like for example, someone like Need can do that and also just do these adept builds, and I think that that's always just a stronger case. Adept's obviously worse in this patch right now. I'm just giving you an example of whatever. Could have been Charge Lock, could have been a Mortal Sentry, could have been Proxy Gate, could have been Cannon
Rush.
Rush.
Like the question of are you letting your opponent do what they want to do? And that can be something that's really nice for deciding whether a build is good or not. Damn, you played a lot of PvZs.
Yeah, I played this one guy. So annoying. He went for the Cannon Rushes over and over again, even though I knew he was going to do it. He was 6'6", so he's good, but it just annoys me when someone does something that I know they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I early spawning pool for it, and they still get away with it.
Really? That happens here?
Yep. So I know he's going to Cannon Rush me, 100%.
All right. Hit D, please. Really bad
Because
at
this guy did it to me multiple times. I played him 4 times, and he did it 3 or 2 times already. And I won 1 time and lost the other game.
Damn.
And I'm going 13 pool, so I should be able to deal with the Cannon Rush. That's my thoughts.
This is Print F here, man. Print F are parting for sure.
6,500 is pretty good. So you can even see I'm putting my Overlord here because I don't want to be Cannon Rushed here. Right? Like they build a robo back here or whatever. This is a really sick spot to Cannon Rush, right?
I would love
pressure my main with this.
To talk about that Cannon Rush spot. Are you getting Cannon Rush there a lot?
No. Well, some. The really good players do it.
Okay, because actually, now I don't know if it's actually any good, but there was an interesting Alpha Star game where I got Cannon Rush there and decided to say, fuck it, and just expanded all the way up the map. Oh, you saw that one?
Yeah.
That was. Anyways, just kind of an interesting take because you don't see Cannon Rushes that don't block the ramp out of the main that often, but it gives you another option of a different way to play. But anyways, go ahead.
Right. Yeah, I played it before, so I just assumed he was going to put it there. Where is he going to put it if he doesn't put it there?
Let me see. Let me look.
Obviously, don't hit E because you'll see.
Yeah. Hold on. Give me a moment. So if he does not put it there, I mean, probably here, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking there maybe.
Is this how many pylons? I guess a 2 pylon block for a cannon.
Yeah. Problem is you can't build your robo there, but just watch because I didn't expect this. It was really annoying. But I knew once I saw it that this was strong as hell.
Okay.
So he's already got his probe here. I think as soon as I see it's not here, it's over here somewhere.
Okay.
So I send my Overlord here. And I see this, and I'm like, okay, this is a really annoying thing. And then he walls here, right? Now my links have to go all the way around here, all the way down here,
okay,
and then here.
Okay.
So he can just build a pylon at any point, and this cannon's gonna be halfway done by the time I even get there.
Oh yeah.
Look at how far look at how long it takes these lings to get here.
Yeah,
I
that's kind of
13
interesting.
spawning pooled. This cannon's gonna get up,
Wow.
right?
12 pool would have dealt with that, by the way.
I don't even know if it would have.
I think it would have. I think it would have.
So now I'm in this really weird spot. I don't handle this well at all, but I don't really. Again, I don't have experience doing this at 13 spawning pool. I just didn't want this probe to finish.
This feels to me like a spine crawler holding situation.
Yeah, I think a spine holding would be fine.
Yeah.
This game wasn't that good by me, to be honest. I was just testing.
This is rough.
Yeah.
This is a rough game.
I do get the cannon on the high ground and everything. It's really annoying. So at this point, I already know I'm dead.
Yeah, this is not looking hot for you.
Yeah, there's not much I can do here to stop this.
Oh,
try to go for the
man, look
immortal.
at that range on that shield battery.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I try to go for the immortal because it's my only play, I think. Once that immortal,
Yeah,
the immortal
yeah.
just kills everything.
No, you're super dead.
This is the only play, I think, for me.
Good to see the disgusting thing I'll be casting on this map.
Yeah, this is probably going to come up. I mean, this guy's really high on Mar. It's not a...
Yeah, he knows what he's doing here for sure.
Yeah. I probably don't GG. Yeah, he's not getting a GG.
I love he has a dark shrine on the way too. He's just as dirty as can be.
Yeah, I play him multiple times though, and I do bop him once. I think it's this one. 6 minutes? I hope. I do. I 13 pull him every time, I think. Yeah. Same guy. Again, I'm doing this. Oh, I actually 12 pull him this time. So I guess I agreed with you.
Yeah. No, seriously though, I think a 12 pull actually just holds it straight up.
Yeah, so I try with a 12 pull, and I'm playing it really safe again.
It's funny how different like even one drone is.
It is actually really different.
Yeah. I mean, it hits a similar window like you mentioned for that build, but like for defense against something like a cannon rush.
Yeah.
I think it does
having
make
like
a bit
10
of a
seconds or
difference.
15 seconds is a big difference.
Yeah.
So he blocks my nat. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, he's not going cannon though.
Yeah, I see that. I'm like, of course you don't go cannon. The one game I go 12 pull. But I also feel like now you're in trouble because you didn't get to do your dumb stuff
Sick
against me.
Zaw skin.
Yeah.
Looks like he's part of like the alien thing.
The alien
The
thing.
head is so long on that thing. Look at it.
Micro's good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going for the all-in again.
Couple drones. No, you're droning.
I should still be going for it.
You're not though.
Oh, I don't actually. You're
You're
right.
droning like a madman.
Oh wait, I lose this game. Let's not watch it. I'm having flashbacks.
What just happened?
The immortal sentry all-ins me. And I know he's doing it for the whole point of the game, but I can't catch up because my 12 pull's bad. But I do kill this guy. I remember killing him at least once. Let's check my match history. Terran. Okay, it's this map. Ephemeron? This one, I guess.
303. Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Unless the cannon rush is about to kill you, that's about the only thing that can end this early.
So I go for the 12 pull again. Yep. Not having this cannon rush bullshit anymore.
I like how you're specifically trying to prepare for this episode by doing this build over and over.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you know what? Fuck it. I got to kill this guy.
I mean,
I appreciate that.
6-5. I'm not having. Look, I go 12 pull and I send my lings down here just in case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this guy gets messed with. I'm really surprised this guy played like this. So this is a guy who went didn't scout or whatever, right? Oh, he actually gets a pretty good surround here. It just felt really bad for me. And then I see his adept going across the map, and I'm like, okay, hell yeah. He's one of those Protosses who can't chill for 2 seconds.
Can't chill for 2 seconds. He's got no chill.
He has literally no chill.
That's the problem.
If he would have just chilled at home, he would have been fine, but nah. Had to send his first
And he
adept
gave
across
you
the map.
G's. You never stop making lings.
No, that was a 12 pull, though. I was just killing him. I had to kill him at least once. So, yeah, I'm still playing around with this more. I'm not sure. I want to play like I've only done one form of the build.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will take one form of the build and run it to the like ground, and then I'll do the macro form of it.
Yeah.
So you'll ask me
I
like why why haven't I tried the macro form yet? I'm just trying to grind out the aggression form.
Yeah.
I think if I'm doing both, it's actually harder to be good at both.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Like I want to run one through people metagaming me, people totally prepared for it. I want to play against double gate, shield batteries, whatever. And then I want to do the opposite and just run through the macro version of I'm building drones out the first 10 links every time, no matter what.
Yeah.
To some extent, obviously. I wouldn't die to an adept or something, but
I agree with this completely because I think that exploring aggressive options first is always correct with everything. Because you gain way more information with aggressive options for so many reasons. Because a lot of what's going on, it's like you can just look at it and be like, okay, this is what I need to change.
Yeah.
Rather than when you're defending, you're like, well, this is what he needs to change, I think, and then I might change this if he does that correctly. So it's like very different ways to look at it, and the games are quicker.
If we could just like run all of the games I've played so far right next to each other, you'd be amazed how surprisingly similar the games are after a certain point. Either the game's ended at 3 minutes and I've won, or the game's going on into my lings are sitting off to the side waiting, they move out, and then I kill them, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Very rarely, like that one game with the double void ray, that was like a very outlying game, and that was it. Like most of them were just them dying over and over again in separate ways of them shading out or whatever. That's why even positioning your units and messing with them can really bring you up a different level, right?
Well, yeah.
Like what's the difference between me and someone who's 5K or 4K just doing the same thing I'm doing? The difference is that I'm waiting for certain things to happen, and then I'm reacting to those things. Like if he just keeps running those lings into the wall, what's gonna happen? Like the game's gonna end. But if you make them think you're droning at certain points when you're not, or if you are droning when they think you aren't, it's a huge difference. Like for example, if I am droning, maybe I show them a ton of lings that I've built before.
Yeah.
They assume I'm not, and then they overreact. Or maybe the opposite happens, right? I show them nothing. They think I'm droning, and then I kill them.
Yeah, and it feels like there's multiple like mind games that can be played series-wise. For instance, you do this build game 1 against someone in a tournament. Win or lose, you do the one where the lings are off on the side and you try to run in because you made more lings than they expected. Then game 2, you don't make the lings and you just drone up, right? And then suddenly the adepts are sitting at home for free, right? So
right. I actually played Haas in a lot of best of 7s or something because of Pig. Pig put me up against Haas in a best of 7. I won the first 2 best of 7s, I think, really convincingly, 4-0 or 4-3, 4 or 4-2 or something like that. And it was a lot of mind games with the build openings I'm doing because I'm doing safe builds that happen to also be really aggressive. So if he ever gave me a window where I could be aggressive, I would do it. And if he was ever aggressive at me, I would defend. And I think that utility against certain players and in certain situations can be really strong. Like players will doubt themselves way more than they should, in my opinion.
Yes.
Like some players doubt themselves way too much, and some players don't doubt themselves enough. Like for example, Innovation was way too confident.
Yeah.
Like there's no in what world if you're looking down at this top down, you send your Hellions out. Realistically, if you're defending, you're never going to lose that game. Right?
Yeah.
Your Innovation.
Yeah.
Like,
of course.
Same with Stats. I mean, Stats did less wrong because Stats was reacting to my aggression more reasonably. Like he was just using too many force fields, obviously not putting that in a quantity. Like it's not really a big fault, to be honest.
No, it's a weird build. That
Innovation just sent his Hellions out against a 14-14 and lost them both. Like that is a very different boat. So yeah.
Well, it's like you said, expecting someone to be droning versus making units makes such a big difference.
Right. Like he did play into what I was hoping he would play into, but realistically, if he just doubted the fact that I was building drones, he would have won. There's a lot of mind games in the higher level, though. I wish we had more people to talk about how they go through series, because I think everyone plays a series very differently. A lot of people do. There's very rarely do people just play the game without thinking about their opponent. And a tournament situation is very different than a ladder one. But I still seem to do okay on tournaments. Like I can still beat people way better.
Well, I think you're good at thinking about that type of mind game, and I think aggressive styles of play until you get to the very, very top level are just really good in tournaments. Like the thing is, if you're against Cyril in the finals, I don't know if you're going to get away with very much, but at like lower levels of pro gaming, which is still pro gaming, obviously.
Well, like we look at Haas's run.
Different. Yeah.
Like he blatantly did it. Everyone knew he was going to do it, and he just bopped everybody.
Yeah.
Like
until you hit like the absolute greatest players, and then the shit stops there.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah, it's very true.
The hammer comes down and they just stop that style of
And
play.
even some of those players are really good at aggression too.
Yeah.
Like Maru is solid aggressive. I think Dark can do really aggressive stuff as well. I'm trying to think of a foreigner that's really good, that's really aggressive, but they don't.
Maybe a laser or something.
Like a laser, yeah. I think a laser misses the bar a bit, but he's definitely in there. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, this has been a very fascinating look into
build orders.
Yeah, and specifically this build orders is really
Let's run
good.
through one of my ZvT builds because
Okay.
this build is very new. The thinking builds that I'm calling them right now, I guess. But I have like tried and true builds that I do on ladder that just never lose, and partially because it's a bar-coded ladder, but also just because I know every response to everything. Like this guy's 6'4", so top 20 GM, whatever. This is like
It's really good. That's a GSL Terran.
yeah,
perhaps.
definitely a Protoss Terran.
All right, can you hit D, please? This is how I watch StarCraft. I don't look at the screen. I look at the production tab.
This build's 14 gas, 14 spool, and you go up to 16 drones on minerals. So I get one drone out after the Overlord, and it'll even out to still having 3 sets of links or 3 sets of larvae when my pool finishes. See that?
Yep.
So this build is perfect, basically, in every way. So 16 drones on minerals. Like this build is extremely well refined, I would say, because I've been doing it for so long. I've probably played this build thousands and thousands of times. This is the build that killed innovation. So no SCV scout. This is already something I would be picking up on right now. There's no SCV scout. The reactor's in the wall. I believe he does SCV scout eventually, but it's late. There it is. So I'm looking at it. That's immediately something I factor into what I'm going to do now. Usually what I do is see if the command center is up and where the Reaper is. Usually the Reaper will sit at home, like here, somewhere like here. If they're really good, they'll try and find my links on the map. That is so annoying. If they find my links here with the Reaper, they'll pick them Reaper or the links down before I even get here. So this, like these queens and lings are already positioned here for reasons. This is so if an SCV scout comes in, it can't see if I'm still mining gas or not. And usually I'll want to mine gas again. Yeah, see, just in case. He cancels, which is a bit of a question mark to me. I don't know why he didn't just cancel immediately, because he didn't see anything new. And he sees a CC or a hatchery on the low ground.
I don't know if he needed to see anything new.
No, he didn't. But this doesn't, like, he didn't see anything that, like, why didn't you just cancel immediately when he saw the command or the hatchery at the time? Like, nothing new happened between when he canceled it and when he scouted my hatch.
Yeah, maybe it's just a little bit.
The cancel should have happened immediately. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like actually, I'm kind of curious. Let's see what he was looking at. I don't know if he saw something I didn't. So, like right now, he sees the late hatch. This is not pool first, not 16 pool late hatch, which is very common. There's probably no chance you defend your natural. He should know that already, right? And he's sitting here, just chilling. And then he cancels. Like, hasn't seen anything new.
I think I saw a blip of red on the minimap, but I think it was the Overlord.
He hasn't seen anything to really differentiate why you wouldn't just cancel immediately. It was just slow. So normally I would react to the timing of the cancel, because that's a pretty big tell for me. Canceling that reactor is huge. That usually means I can bust him without the reactor being swapped already, which is massive. It's the difference between 4 Hellions and 2 being on the top of the ramp, which is massive. I can't over-exaggerate how much that matters.
Massively?
It's massive. It's like difference between having a 90 or 80% win rate to 40, which is huge, huge difference, right? Essentially, you can boil this entire game down to that cancellation of the reactor. So that's how tight I've gotten this build down to.
Yeah.
Obviously,
so
if he
he's
knows,
like on a position on a map where the reactor's not in the wall, you just don't do the build.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't. But that's actually something that's nice, because this is actually something you can just factor in immediately at the start of the game.
Yeah.
Right. Look, note this right here. Right, 3 links. So I'm doing that mind game a bit now. If the Reaper comes out here, it only sees 3 links. The Reaper comes out here, it sees only 3 links. The idea is I don't want him to come over here and see a Bailey Nest or something, or my Ling Rally. And my Lings are sitting here, where I know they're not going to be scouted. And he's coming out because he has to take his natural if I'm droning. There's in no world if I was fully saturated here with 16 drones at a third base on the way, you can just not sit back. You know what I mean? Like that would be game over if he sits here for long enough, because eventually I'll have drones being built here, and then I can do this where it's even harder to take your natural now, and you don't have any chance. You have to get your natural as soon as possible. Is basically what I'm saying. Especially in the higher levels. Like if I'm dark or someone, you're totally dead. So I see the Hellion coming out, and I grab another Hellion.
Yeah.
My Banelings are on the way, so I'm just waiting for them. Controlling this is really hard. This is really unfortunate for me. The difference between 4 and 5 Banes, and also I detonate a little bit soon. I thought the Hellions were going to be in range. This is quite bad for me here. But he lets me in. Oh, tried to slow that down. And now he's in very big trouble.
Yes.
So, really, what did he do wrong? You know, like the Hellion on the map, kind of wrong, but not really, because you haven't seen much, and you're also not risking much usually with one Hellion. Worst comes to worst, you lose one Hellion, and you know a Baneling Hellion is coming. It's a big difference, like you not having a wall and having a wall. Arguably, he wouldn't have been able to kill that Baneling, and he wouldn't have known it was coming, and he wouldn't have had this wall if that Hellion didn't die. He scouted pretty fluently. He SCV scouted.
Yeah.
Cancelled his CC immediately and built it on the high ground. His Hellions were here as a wall. Like, what did he do wrong, really, right? And that's why I think this build has a ton of utility. The only thing about this build is if you blind counter it, it's very bad.
Yeah, of course.
Like, you know you're playing No Regret. You know he's going for the Baneling version. This is a hard wall.
Yeah.
And I'm very sad. Because if you do defend this in any way, you're solid. But I can show you, like, infinite replays of this happening over and over and over and over again.
I've seen this build from you quite a bit over the last little bit.
I like it a lot.
No,
if you go through my ZvT, like look at the lengths of these games. And I'm 6-3 almost on my other account. Like I've counted one game at 8. This game's 10, 9. Like you're hard pressed to find any games over 9 minutes.
Damn, no wonder you have so many games played.
Yeah,
these games are just so fast.
So,
very cool build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that these builds are interesting. If it wasn't me, they would have hugely successful win rates too, I think. Like
yes, like
if I
this
took
is the build
this
if you
and I
teach
gave
us
it,
to
if I gave it to Scarlet, if I gave it to
Rogue,
Sort of, if I gave it to someone who's macro oriented.
Man, imagine Sort of using that build.
Yeah.
That would surprise
they just
the
get
shit
wins.
out of the other Europeans.
And in best of threes, I can't like the difference between being up 1-0 and being down 1-0 is so massive. Like unless they're just out of your league completely, being up 1-0 is a huge edge because you lose the next game and get full intel, and then you have the second game, and they had no intel from the first game because it was just
especially when you build a mind game around the builds you've already used. Like I love builds playing into the next build. I think robotic build orders where it's like I do this on this map and this on this map. I think that there should be some continuity, either the mind game or the reverse mind game where they know you're going to mind game. It matters obviously who you're playing against and how much they know you and your style and what you preference towards.
When Sasha was doing the best she was, like when she won Pyeongchang and did really well in GSL, every time I was with her, we would go like set builds down on certain maps and set them down like beforehand, and they would play into each other. That was the point, right?
Yeah.
Even if she's down 1-0, the information she gave the first game is not going to play poorly into the second. Yeah, it's going to play
I think
well.
That's important.
Yeah, and very rarely was she down 1-0. A lot of them are just a 2-0 punch knockout.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like Innovation versus Innovation, I planned out the build perfectly, and I planned out literally what was going to happen from step to step. He's going to do this. You're going to respond with this. And she just knocked him out. It was just 2-0, right? She had a carapace before speed build that I built.
I remember that build. That was awesome.
The whole idea is they sack the Hellions to kill your drones.
Yeah.
And then you kill them with a counterattack with carapace and speed.
Yeah.
And she just happened, right? Like he went in, lost his Hellions, and then she went across the map and killed him. So it's funny how much you can do in reaction to even some of the best players. Like Innovation
almost
isn't doing anything really wrong
against the best players because you can figure out how they're going to play. I get made fun of a lot for saying that you win because you're bad sometimes, right? And
it happens.
You have players where it's like, no, the right move here was to do this, and I gave you all the right cues to do this, and you didn't do it because you literally don't even know.
Yeah, like that last guy I played didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
like nothing. Everything was played perfectly, in my opinion.
Well, played perfectly according to the current understanding of metagame of what's going on at that level. But that's kind of the funny thing too, right? Like, let's say for a moment that you win
level in Korea too. Like,
yeah, no, totally. But I'm saying, like, let's say that suddenly you start dominating ladder and you win GSL with this style of play. It gains more popularity because one person doing it on the ladder can't change everything. But if every Zerg started doing this, hard walls would come back.
Yeah.
And it would just, the metagame would shift slightly and the build would leave. But that in and of itself would give the Zerg players an advantage in a way. They'd lose some while they were still doing that and adjusting to the fact that there are now hard walls. And things would change.
Yeah, and it happens. Like, I don't want to take sole credit for the Ling Drop era, but the Ling Drop era was super, like, all those builds Scarlet was using in Pyeongchang were, like, super heavily influenced by me.
Yeah.
And then it got nerfed out completely. But, like, my playstyle was, like, super taking advantage of that, and people would play, like, leave probes against their walls or against their ramps against me. People would veto maps that had cliffs. Like, you do find that people will react to things they know you're going to do.
Yeah.
In that way, and it will rotate out. Like, some maps I couldn't do it, and I just wouldn't do it. I had a different build for it.
Yeah.
But the idea would be, like, I would punch that in with a different play, or I would mess with people by leaving an Overlord there and not do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I would be playing 3-hatch before pool or whatever back then. It was kind of okay. Like, just doing 3-hatch really greedy stuff, and I would send my first Overlord and I'd sit it there. Most blatant thing ever, right? Like, he's going for Ling Drop.
Yeah.
Never go Ling Drop.
Yeah.
Then they would go Void Ray first or something, and I'm like, okay, what are you going to do with your Void Ray? I've got 3 base full sat, and I'm going Ling Hydra now. And you're dead. So there's a lot of utility in that sense with build orders.
Yeah.
I think this is an interesting episode for builds.
Definitely. I've very much enjoyed it. Yeah. I think
I'm trying to think of anything else we want to add to this episode.
I think we can call it for now.
I think I would like to come back to this episode with different people, because the way you prepare for a series or a set versus certain people, it would be really interesting to me to like pull people and like see what they do. Because I definitely am a person who sets out build orders, have them interlock and stuff like that. But there are people that just don't do that ever. Yeah. There are people that just sit there and wait for you to do things, which I totally disagree with in RTS fundamentals. I feel like that's you're giving them too much advantage. Unless you're
there's a certain
just so good
beauty to absorbing everything your opponent does. But to put this into perspective, Serral and Flash don't play like that. Yeah. Both of them mix in all sorts of different things, even lower win percentage builds, because that brings over your overall win percentage up.
I mean, you and I always been a huge advocate for someone like Stats just throwing in whatever.
Yes. And he's done a little bit more.
He's starting to do cannon rushes or whatever.
Yeah, a little bit, right? But you can see he's not as completely comfortable with that as his regular style. But yeah, it's really important to have that big range overall. Well, I'd like to revisit if you continue to work on the build a bit and then eventually get to the point where you like it enough that you want to try a more droning version. Yeah, just to see what that looks like. The thing is, I feel like the more droning version is better in a best of series or something. Is what it feels like. And this version you've been showing me is better on ladder.
This version is strong to, like, if I did just the droning version by itself
on the ladder the win rate's going to go way down. I think
that. But I also think just having the threat of that being a possibility is huge for the build order. Yeah. Like, if I go into a best of 3 series and I never use the Ling version, but they've seen me do it on ladder or they've seen this episode, whatever, right? They have some kind of intel that I do it. Totally different, because then they're going to be questioning. Even if you have questions in your mind as the opponent of me, I'm happy. Like, I want them to be thinking, is he doing this? Is he doing that? What's going on? That's the only time I have a chance, honestly. If they know fully what's going on, it's my win rates plummet immediately. Yeah. But it's so hard to do that. It's so hard to just know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, people don't actually have time to study each other very much. The era of coaches is not here. And even when it was here, they actually weren't doing that. It was hilarious. I used to talk shit on some of the coaches in GSL because I'd be like, I know what he's going to do. Why don't you guys know? You have a pro team. You guys are on salary, and you guys don't know what he's going to do. Like,
dude, I think that's
poor coaching.
It missed the era of being able to utilize the coach, though, because back then there was so much optimization already needed, right? Like, people were missing the mark so hard on just being good players.
That's true. That's a good point.
Back then, a lot of good players just were better. You know, like, they were just better than the other person. Yeah.
We didn't hit the full maturity that Brood War hit, where, like, everyone was already so good by about 2007. Like, everyone was so good that you could really start, like, hitting strategies that were specific at that point.
Yeah, I think this era, or, like, we could pull it back maybe 2 or 3 years, this would be the perfect era for coaches.
Yeah.
Given
And that's
that,
about the same when I feel like Brood War started hitting there. When you start hitting like 10 years of pro gaming, it's like everyone's gotten to such a high base skill.
and there's so much information on people now.
Yeah.
Like back then, if you're playing a random dude, who knows who he is, and they can be so powerful because they could just be a ladder guy that no one's ever heard of. It just how the game worked back then.
Yeah, yeah.
But now you're not. There's no such thing as just a random ladder dude taking out a good player. It just doesn't happen.
It does not.
If you're good enough to take out people, we already know who you are.
You
know what I mean?
Or
like,
it's like you
all
just
the
happen
people
to have a
that-
build order like Max Packs or something like that,
and everybody already knows
the
Max
Marjorie
Packs
or
too
something.
now, right?
Yeah,
The Marjorie.
well,
Like,
as soon
everybody
as you
knows
do
these
it,
people
everyone
already.
knows you.
Exactly.
Right, but those are the only times where someone just pops up out of nowhere, kind of.
Yeah, it's never happened. And like the last 3-4 years, I would never say anyone just came out of nowhere. And like even Raynor and all these people that steadily come up to the point where they are, we knew about them since like they were 6K or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone knew Raynor and Cyril. Like I played Cyril in like 2014 or something in a tournament. Like
Yeah,
he was nowhere near world champion, but he was still notable.
2013 or so was the first time I casted Cyril, and it was against Supernova. I actually went back and watched the VOD recently, and I was in it. I'm like, oh my god, if he just keeps playing like this, he'll be one of the top foreigners no matter what. Damn. Could see those kids coming a long time ago, man.
You can see them coming. That's the point, though, right? You can see them coming from a mile away. And there's a lot of people that there's actually quantifiable like potential, I feel, in a lot of people, where like you can quantify how much potential this person has by their playstyle and their age and how long they've been at it. For example,
yeah, I think you're probably right. I still am like kind of a firm believer if you never give up, you can't be defeated. But well, that's kind of the story of my life, at least.
I think that is true to a certain extent.
Yeah,
I don't think you can ever have that and then just be like Cyril or be like Maru or be like one of these people. I think there's actually a talent versus like practice thing, because even if you're 30 or 31, if you've been playing StarCraft for 10 years and you have 70,000-80,000 games and you're not even, if you're low Grandmaster or whatever, you're not going to make it. You're never going to pass Cyril at that point.
What would you say, though? Because there are players that have done, like Nest T won his first championship when he was like 30.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. I'm not going to take all credit away, but when the game comes out newly, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But after 10 years, that's why I'm saying you have to be at it for 10 years too, right?
Yeah.
If you're 30 and you come in and you're like all of a sudden Grandmaster after 1,000 games, I'm like, whoa, that's scary.
Sure, yeah.
Now you could possibly be Cyril. If you've been at it for 10 years and you just got Grandmaster, totally different in my opinion.
Yeah.
So even
that's fair.
I don't want to say age is actually a gatekeeper here, but the length of time you've been at the game is a gatekeeper. Because if you haven't gotten it in the last 10 years, when it was easier at certain points, or when you were given this, or when you were given that, or when you had more time to practice, or when you didn't have more time to, you know what I mean? Over the course of 10 years, you've had gates where you should have been able to do it. And if you still haven't gotten it now, I don't see how it's possible.
I think there are slight things to add to that, like people who fail under pressure. You can fix something like that.
Agree.
Like Bjorn is one of those players that played forever and never had results, and then finally just kind of broke through. Even though he was in GSL like season 2.
I would put those people in the same category though. Like they're not necessarily at fault, but it's still like not a talent thing. But you need to have these abilities to be one of the best. You know what I mean? You have to have everything. You can't just have certain aspects and be one of the best. Or you can, but you can't be the best. Rather, you know what I mean?
Yeah, generally not.
Like. If you look at all the different players that are around my level, which are all people that you would consider good at the game, but all lack something, right?
Yeah.
They lack a certain thing to push them past that level. And there's a level between me and the next person, and then there's a level between that person and Cyril. Like I would say there's 3 levels of pro gamer right now, somewhere around there. There could be more.
I think that there's at least 4
levels. It's a spectrum,
levels.
totally.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a level below me, and then I'm the 3rd level, and then there's like a level above me. I would say that's like Juan, Scarlet, that level, and then there's a level above that, which would be like Cyril, Dark.
I think it can be, broken down even more than that. Like I think
it totally could. I mean, we go through the whole spectrum of like 20 levels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to
it
really
does feel
dumb
like
it down,
there is, though, right? Like in between, like let's say you and Scarlet, there would be like DNS or something, right? Where it's like this is another level too, where this guy's really good, but not a tournament champion yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with 5. I'd probably say I'm between the 4th and 3rd, though. I wouldn't even put myself fully in the 4th either, because there's periods of time where I take out stats in on all these people. Like, it's definitely a spectrum. I would put DNS more in my group of level than Scarlets if we had to pick one.
I guess
If
it's
you're like
all
DNS, you have to fit in either the third rank or
it's
the
hard
second rank
to-
pro gamer. I
well,
would put him in the
it's
third.
hard to grade you anywhere because you don't stay competitive.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
But my point is that there's definitely a gradient, and that all the people on the gradient lack something. Like even in the
For sure.
grade 2
Yeah.
pro gamer, which I would put stats or not stats. Sorry, I'd put Juan. I'd put Scarlet. I'd put Neeb. I'd put maybe Showtime. Showtime and these Neeb and maybe like more tier 1 between them.
Mhm.
But they're all lacking something. There's a difference between them and the best.
The Zerg race?
I mean, I would even argue like Maru. You know, actually, I would put Maru in tier 1 for sure. I think there's a big difference.
He's up
in
at
skill.
the top.
Yeah.
He's up at the top.
TY too.
Absolutely.
Like Neve has taken series off of TY, but if we dragged it out, way out, like I would still give TY an overwhelming advantage versus him,
Maybe.
and I'd give a TY an overwhelming advantage over Showtime as well, depending on the patch, depending on eras. But it just feels like overall they're better players. They're just
TY for my money is still the smartest pro gamer out there.
I agree. I think that's a big difference between Juan and TY actually.
There's
Not that he's
definitely
not
still a
smart,
difference,
but that
even though
there's a practice thing, right? Like he practices things that TY gives him, but TY comes up with these things, right? And there's
their styles have started to differentiate, and that's where we've seen Juan actually
doing better.
get more power.
Yeah.
Like, have you noticed that? Because like
Sure.
for a while there, he was like kind of a carbon copy of TY, and that got him to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
He was a round of 8 WCS player, but now he's like a finals WCS player.
That's because Juan fundamentally understands what he's doing better now.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that was a huge difference between why
He
TY
really knows
would
it.
do so well with a
like
build.
when they were in the same group and TY busted out and Juan got through the group. I'm
Right.
like, this
Yeah.
is the moment. This is the moment where he differentiates
and
himself.
when we're talking about all the build orders we've been talking about,
Yeah.
I'm giving you. One sec. I believe this is just in our heads, but
Okay.
well,
We should wrap up then, just in case.
well,
Continue
they
what
can
you were
still hear
saying.
me. Yeah, let's just finish off what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think there's a fundamental. As long as you fundamentally understand what you're doing in your build order, you're gonna have more success with it.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on a Team Liquid and you see this, if I gave you guys this build order right now, you're not going to be able to beat six 4 players. You're not going to be able to beat 6-3 players on Korea, these top GM players. But if you fundamentally understood everything that I'm going through and you fundamentally gotten to this point,
Yes.
you can actually do it.
I could talk about this for hours about the fundamental understanding of build orders and strategies and how deep that actually goes, because people don't actually understand how deep a strategy
really
can be
deep.
in StarCraft. It's insanity.
Sasha actually said, I was doing some coaching for some Indonesian pro gamers, and she said the best thing you can do is to teach them the fundamentals of StarCraft,
Yes.
even though they're Grandmaster players.
Oh, absolutely.
Because so many people don't know the fundamentals.
yes.
All the way up to top 200 in NA easily. All the way up to top 200 in EU
all
easily.
the way up
All the
to
way up to-
GSL top 4 and stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
All the
not
way up
even
to top
joking.
25. All the way up to special. All the way up to these players where you can see glimpse of fundamental understanding in their play, and they dominate. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And they have stretches of it where they fundamentally understand the game really well, and they dominate.
Yes.
And then they don't understand it as well.
God,
They
I
drop
love this
out.
topic.
Right?
We have to talk more about this.
Yeah.
but
This is part 1.
let's-
Definitely.
We'll get
This is
another
why I would love
episode
a
on
third
this.
person,
Yes.
because we can go about this, but I would love to get a third opinion on it.
Yes.
Because I know we're right, but also there's an interesting theory behind it more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
We'll
I would,
prepare another episode on this
Yeah.
exactly.
we have to figure
This is a great one.
exact pro gamer, but
Okay.
yeah, I think we can wrap it up here.
Yeah.
It's been
Since
a
our
good
headphones
episode.
kind of died, I don't know. Hopefully this is
Oh,
all
they-
coming
they
through,
can
guys.
still hear us at least.
Yeah, I see
so.
the mic thing jumping, so probably everyone still hears
It's
us
just in
fine.
our ears.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah,
This has been a very fun episode, though.
yeah, it started out with one thing, and well, the funny thing is that this conversation we're having now actually ties into the build order stuff that we're talking about. But the way we got here was weird. You know what I mean? Like we went from potential as a pro gamer, and then we got to fundamental understanding of build orders, and then we're like,
Yes.
well, that ties back into what we were talking about
it
before.
really does. It really does.
But yeah,
Everything's
fundamentally understanding your build order and why you're doing certain things and what you're looking for, and like that's what makes a build order good too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's the correct way to play StarCraft.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful episode. I
yeah.
loved it. This was so much fun. I'm so glad In Depth is back. Guys, again, we're sorry that we've been off for a bit. We are preparing Season 2 still. This is the bridge between Season 1 and Season 2, so thank you so much, everyone, for your support.
Yeah, and for the Patreons, we released a episode of Ladder episode for everybody to watch. That's Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably do that again.
Let us know how you like that. And
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. You can check out the Patreon, patreon.com/indepthsc2.
And you can check out our Discord for information
Yes,
about
that's right. That's
everything.
right.
You can put input. We'll have our, things we announce, whatever. You guys can go there. We talk a lot about games while we're watching them,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. But yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting us. We'll see you guys next time.